welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks Data. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who is sponsoring the world's first fun run in bear suits. It's David Cross.
And I can't wait for that fun run.
Now, you had to schedule it for January, correct?
Yeah. I mean, if you run in a bear suit, you're going to get warm. So I wanted everyone to be comfortable. So you have to do it in January when it's cold.
Now, these bear suits, are they like the cheap onesie bear suits? Or are these like the Wicker Man bear suit that Nic Cage ran around in the Wicker Man?
So my dream is that this event becomes an annual undertaking. But for the first year, we're going to let everything slide so people get in and get a taste of the bear suit run. But as we get older, I'm going to up the criteria to eventually you're going to have to do a full Nic Cage bear suit run.
I mean, because if you make everyone do that, you could do various runs. You could do bear suit, any kind of bear suit, any price for one, and then you could do a full bear. Like, so you know when people run the half marathon and then they run the 5K, or like a 10K, 5K, you could have the full bear suit and then like the fun bear suit run. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I get it. We could also have challenges. It could be like a triathlon of bear suiting. So you would run a mile, and then you would have to
one punch KO people.
Yeah, or you would get that arcade machine and see what you can get highest, and then you have to run back another mile. I mean, this movie came out September 1st.
Yep.
I mean, we just missed it, but come January,
it'd be too hot. So hey, thank you for joining me. And then so David was also on the Blade Blood Rave data posts, and so now you're back, man, and you kind of had this really awesome setup for these, and you kind of want to get us going on this?
Yeah, absolutely. So my first question with this is just what is your relationship with Wicker Man?
Well, okay, so I watched the first one, the original in 2001 when I was trying to knock out all the classics, and so when this came out, I didn't see it in theaters, but I rented it, and I was just taken by the unhinged performance. And this is back when Nic Cage wasn't totally losing it. He was still a big draw. I mean, he still had some National Treasure movies ahead of him, so he still had bigger days in front of him. But just watching him freak out, but the biggest thing for me was just watching him sock people, one punch KO people in a bear suit. And there's a clip on YouTube that I just watch a lot where it's the Chariots of Fire music, and it plays while he's running in the bear suit to knock somebody out. And so that's why I've loved about this movie, and that's what led to this article.
And when you say this is like a cult movie, that if you like bad movies, you know that what this movie is.
This is a good bad movie.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. This is in there.
This
like The Room, the Troll 2. Now, obviously, technically it's much more impressive, but the final result is just as funny.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you about it. So what was your goal, right? So like you had this vision in mind. What did you want to do with this project?
Well, I started with several questions. So I kind of wanted to do, how far does he travel while wearing the bear suit? And then I also asked, where did he learn to fight? The dude knocks out 3 people and knocks down 2 people with 6 total strikes. And then I wondered, could I map the island to learn how far he traveled? And then how did a parade of slow-moving people manage to travel in the group to another location to wait for Nic Cage after he frees his daughter? So I went into this with 4 questions, and it all stemmed from him in a bear suit. But you can't find out how far he traveled until you've mapped the island. So the main goal was to map the island.
Okay. And were you nervous before starting this project?
No. So when I did this one, this was in kind of, let's see, over a year ago, I did this. No, actually, I did this in March 2018. So almost a year and a half ago, I did this. And I was still relatively new to my data posts. I've been doing them for a couple of years. But I hadn't had anything that defeated me. So I kind of went into it with a certain amount of hubris with this one, thinking I could do it easily.
And what did you find out?
This is the toughest one I've ever done.
Really?
Yeah.
How many have you done in total, you think?
I don't know, 60?
60. That's saying something.
No,
it really is.
So it's 1 through 59, and then a massive gap, and then this one.
Okay. And what made this so challenging?
Okay, so I rented it, right? Thinking I could do it. And so I was really busy at the time. I just rented it one night because I'm like, I don't want to buy a Wicker Man. And so I rented it and I just watched it, right? And I tried to map the island and nothing. Then I tried to watch it again, nothing. Then I tried to watch it again, and then the rental expired. And so I had all these notes. I had all these thing. Like, I had so much notes, and I mapped the island. It looked like a kidney bean. I just had a feel for nothing. This movie gave Neil LaBute directed it, and it just gave me nothing. It was so frustrating, man. I had no idea where he was going. I didn't know where the island was. I didn't know why he was riding around like this, how he covered ground so far, and I let it go. I really wasn't going to do it. I saw that it was on TV, so I taped it. I watched it again. I'm like, this is horrible. And then one day I just kind of thought, wait a second. And I went back and watched it, and then I was able to, this is like 5 viewings over several months, which is crazy. I eventually got a feel for the island, and I was able to map it. But that was the toughest thing I've ever worked on.
Yeah. And so how big is this island?
Well, okay. So I guess what I have, the length of the island is over 2 miles. Okay. So just the length. So if you're looking at it, it's over 2 miles. And I realized that cages, so I figured that out because if you're in the middle of the island, you have the lodge. So you're just looking at it. And if you look to the left, that's where the bee farm is. That's where, there's that main headquarters there. And to the right, you get to Rowan's house, you get to the cemetery, you get to other places, right? And then there's another point in the movie where he runs over a hill and down to a road and then takes that right. And then he takes another left, he steals a bicycle eventually. So he's riding the middle of the island on this bike, but then also in the front of the island, he's also riding on his bicycle. So I also figured he was wet at one point, and by the time he got back to another point, he was dry. So it was really hot out, so I figured maybe 40 minutes, so that's 2 miles across, because that's how far he traveled. And then inland, since he was traveling so much around this island, he never saw the Wicker Man statue, which was huge, and he covered a lot of ground, which means it was in a remote area, probably on the northern, so if the lodge is on the southern end, it's like probably northeast on the island, in a place where you can't really get to by roads, I guess. So he didn't. It's a big enough island for him to miss that during all of his journeys. And I based it off that.
Okay, so let's answer those questions you were trying to set out. Like, how far did he run in a bear suit?
All right, so okay, so I came out to he ran about 1,800 yards, which is 5,400 feet, which is just over 1 mile.
Let me give you this right. In a bear suit, not on like easy to runnable ground, like over rough terrain.
Rough terrain, yes. And now, so when he left the lodge, what they showed earlier is he had to run up a hill, and then he had to run down a hill. And then he comes across, he had to run around, like the school's roughly in the middle of the island. So he had to run almost to kind of the water to meet the people who were walking from the bee maze. So they're on, so you're looking at the island, right? So they're on kind of the west side of the island, and they're going around the end of the kidney bean. So he's in the middle of the kidney bean, which is really, I don't know if that makes sense to anybody. But then goodness, this is a horrible explanation. But yeah, so then he runs through the center of the island to cut them off before they get to where they're going to burn Rowan, which is all a show. And I figured by the time that he did that, and they're walking, and the fact that the sun was still out, and then he walks with them further, and he still doesn't see the Wicker Man. So it was, I think, to get them, and then once he runs around, punches that lady, then runs away, that's over a mile, safely.
Okay. So just to recap here. So you have an island that's basically 2 miles wide.
Long, yeah.
Long, and he runs 1 mile in a bear suit.
Yes, easily.
Did you answer where he learned to fight?
No. I mean, he's a trained officer, and he's very, he's Nic Cage, man. But he throws one-punch KOs and sidekicks. He's trained. Maybe in the academy he learned how to do that. But I'm telling you, man, this was the toughest thing. And if you go to moviesfilmsandflicks.com and you type in how much ground did Nic Cage cover while dressed as a bear in the Wicker Man remake, and you look at the article, my wife did a handy diagram, which I think will really help you understand what I'm talking about here.
So there's one question I have, and I don't know if you can answer this, but how long do you think it took him to run in that suit, the 1 mile?
So that's a really good question that you have. Okay, so I think since he had to go up a hill and then he had to go down a hill, and when he came across the group, he wasn't coming through a trail. So he couldn't have been sprinting normally in this way because it would have been pretty dangerous. So he moved at a pretty methodical pace, which I'm thinking maybe like a 12-minute mile, like a walk-run type. So that's what I think he was doing.
I think that's a really good guess because before we started this episode, I looked up what the average time someone a male in their 40s did in 5Ks. Like the first mile is about 10:28, and we can assume that he is being encumbered by terrain and a bear suit.
So yeah, that feels right, right? And
Yeah,
he's in a hurry, like so I think I think I think you nailed it. So yeah, I think he was doing about that kind of mile, and he ran over, jeez Louise, he ran over a mile in his bear suit. But I'm telling you, man, this article, it's like, it almost killed me. This one was really tough. This is the toughest one I've ever done. It hurt.
Well, I'm glad you figured it out because it is a lot of fun to read.
And like, so, I guess, I tracked the barns, the graveyards, the churches, the schools, the apothecary, the bee farm, I also figured out how far he ran on a bicycle. I knew where the carts were. Oh man. I hated this movie after I was done with this, man. But this was fun. Any other questions for this?
No. Is there anything that you want to make sure everyone knows about?
Just head to Movies, Films, and Flicks. Check out this data. I really just take a look at the thing that Megan made. I think it really sells where he ran, and I think you'll get a feel for the island once you see that. But no, this is the toughest one I did, and I'll tell you what, man. I think I had the most sense of accomplishment on this because I gave up. And then I got motivation again, and I finished this really important piece of work.
Awesome, man.
This is cool. Hey, so thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Hey, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, for David Cross, this is Movies, Films, and Flicks Data. We'll see you next week.